if you check out Planned Parenthood nowadays, I mean, you'll probably find that all they do is abortions at their clinic. We have seen women who come in that have been sex trafficked, that had their abortions at 14 or 15, and their parents forced them and took them, even though they didn't want to have the abortion. It's absolutely tragic to hear these stories. We share the gospel, and we allow them to go through a workshop where they cancel their debt, where they forgive everyone associated with the abortion, the doctors, the clinic, the boyfriend, where they actually forgive themselves. And we also spend some time in the afternoon going over strongholds and soul ties. Beyond the abortion, what led you to that decision?
Hey there, welcome to the Mental Perk podcast. I'm Karla Hutcherson, licensed professional counselor.
And I'm Brandi, entrepreneur, author, and community leader. And we're here to talk about
real people, real issues, and real talk. After silently carrying the pain of a past abortion, Michelle Barber attended a Deeper Still retreat in 2021. What happened next changed everything for her. Her healing was so profound, her daughter now calls her Michelle 2.0. Today, Michelle is the executive director and board president of Deeper Still DFW, helping women and men find freedom from the emotional and spiritual wounds of abortion. From shame to restoration, Michelle's story is one of redemption, courage, and purpose. We're so happy to have Michelle here. We're so happy she's going to be able to tell her story and be vulnerable with us, and we're just so excited to have you. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So abortion isn't talked about today.
Yes.
With anyone.
Yeah.
Anywhere. And I was 19 when I had my abortion. And what started that was my dad left my mom when I was 10, and I was the oldest of 3 girls. And I was kind of like looking for love in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
Right?
And that is, you hear women say those things, you know. Mm-hmm. That's one way to kind of make up for when you're not getting your emotional needs met in the home.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mom was, bless her heart, she tried, raising 3 young girls by herself. She was very strict. And so in high school, I became promiscuous and had lots of boyfriends throughout high school and college. But it was my first year in college that I found out I was 6 weeks pregnant.
Oh, how scary. That had to be such a scary moment.
It was. I had lived with my girlfriend. We were sharing an apartment together, and my boyfriend would come over, and I found this out. And the crazy thing was I'd become a Christian in that spring and told him, we can't do this anymore. This is not right. And I told him no more. And so he decided, okay, well, no more with you too.
And he left.
And he decided to leave, yeah. However, my girlfriend that I was living with at the time, she took me to the abortion clinic. And I don't know anything about it. I don't know if it was Planned Parenthood. I don't know. The only thing I know is I was on a prescription drug called Feldine for my rheumatoid arthritis, and they were concerned that they wouldn't be able to do the procedure. Then they finally decided that they could, and so they put me to sleep. And I thank God to this day that I was asleep, because you hear stories.
Yeah.
Horror stories.
Of women who have been awake through their abortions. Mm-hmm. So they put me to sleep, and I had called my girlfriend ahead of time and said, send him over. He needs to be a part of this. He can take me home. And
I was going to ask, did you tell him before you did this?
Yes, I did, and he helped pay for it.
Okay. So he was at least somewhat supportive.
Yeah.
I guess, at least financially.
We didn't talk about it at all. I was scared to death. I was like, what do I do? Yeah,
you're 19, and back then,
right?
It's hard to talk to anybody.
Yes.
There's still a stigma with it, but there definitely was a stigma back then, because, we weren't talking a lot about women's health rights.
No. So went home afterwards and proceeded with my life. I had no informed consent about anything. And I'm hearing today that women still aren't, sadly. But
no one tried to talk to you, to tell you about your options, to say, yeah, we can help you with this, or
no,
it just was
nothing.
like,
okay,
this is what we're doing.
Take my money and go this way, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and
that's
obviously
really
you couldn't
sad.
share that with your mother.
no, I didn't.
Yeah.
I look at that is such a big topic right now, politically and socially, on abortion. But what I feel like is we focus so much on the procedure, we don't focus on the mental impact it has.
Exactly.
And so women are having this done, thinking this is their right, and then they don't understand how it's really going to affect the rest of their life.
Yeah.
The rest.
I've heard women say that they didn't realize until actually after having their first child, after they gave birth to a child, what they had done.
Yeah.
The impacts.
And then there's grieving that happens, it's just been put off.
Yeah, grieving doesn't happen at all. I just went on about my life, still looking for love in all the wrong places. Fortunately, I didn't get pregnant again. I did get married. My first husband, we were married 7 years, and I had an affair. And come to find out later, he had given up on us about a year prior. And then I continued to work and live life, and met my second husband at work. And it wasn't until I said I'm moving to Texas, because I lived in California at the time. It wasn't until then that he decided, well, I've got a wife and 2 kids.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
We're like,
Exactly. I didn't know.
Okay, so you were married to him?
No, I wasn't married at that point.
Okay.
But we were seeing each other.
So
and he left his wife and 2 kids to
you
move
were the other woman.
I was the other woman.
Okay.
Okay.
And he moved to Texas with me. And so we eventually got married.
Okay.
And that didn't last 5 years. Come to find out, he was having affairs all throughout our marriage while I was traveling on business. So then, shortly thereafter, I met my now current husband. We've been married over 27 years and have 2 children with him.
Yeah.
Thanks. He's the best thing that ever happened to me, really.
Yeah.
But it was, when I wrote my life story out for him, because he needed to know. I was 36 at the time, and I'm like, you need to know who I am and where I come from before you decide you want to.
Wow.
I love that, though,
That's-
Michelle. That is so
yes.
powerful and so courageous, I have to
Yeah.
say, because many people wouldn't do that.
No.
Well, I just didn't want to have to go through that
Yeah.
again,
But
Any of it.
I love how you did it, though, because a lot of people, the fear of rejection
Yeah.
would keep a lot of people from doing that.
Exactly.
But you're probably thinking, man, I've gone through all this anyway.
Yeah.
It can't get much worse, right?
Exactly.
But the
So-
fact that you cared enough to let him know and make an informed
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So, and then, we got married, and it's been a rough patch. So I was
As all marriage is, you go through
Right.
seasons.
You do. We had the 2 kids. Madison was right before we celebrated our first anniversary.
Surprise.
Yeah. So, and then Brandon came 21 months later, and it's been great. I was, however, the rule follower. I was in the house all the time with the kids because he traveled. He was a pilot. And he'd come home on the weekends, and he'd be like, "Woo, let's have fun, kids!"
Yeah.
And
Like a part-time dad.
yes, very much so.
Yeah.
But it was all throughout our marriage. I'd been in counseling here and there, and not one of the intake forms, and this is what's really important. Not one of the intake forms asked, "Have you ever had an abortion?"
That's a very good point. I don't think mine does. But that is a very good
that's
point.
interesting now that you say that, because you're right. I don't think
I mean,
I've
I guess
ever-
we ask about like medical history, and you would think it would come up, but it's not specific to that.
Do they even have it on medical forms when you're going to the doctor?
It depends on what doctor, I guess.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
depends.
Right.
Because actually, when I was pregnant with my son, they'd asked how many pregnancies I'd had.
Oh, well, there, yeah.
And I was afraid to tell them because my mother-in-law was coming in with me on a particular visit, and she hadn't shared with her yet.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, counseling, as I've learned through this process, abortion affects everything.
It does.
It really does. It's a mental health issue, you know, because I didn't have suicidal thoughts, but boy, I thought I was the worst mom ever, the worst wife ever. I was depressed. They did an intervention one time, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do anything, you know? But it's hard. It's hard.
It is. And I deal with patients who have had abortions and them not really understanding why they're in this particular mental health state. And once we learn that, then we can actually go back and deal with that trauma, because it is a trauma.
It is.
And it is a grieving process. And if we don't allow ourselves to do that, it's hard to heal from it.
Exactly. So I fast forward, you know, in 2021, so what, I'm 61 at that point, after having the abortion at 19. So 50 years.
A lot of years.
40 years. And just feeling like I'm the scum of the earth, you know. I just don't have a place.
Did you really realize why you had such low self-esteem or why you had such low confidence in yourself? Did you put those pieces together?
Because as a Christian, in my head, I knew it all, right? I knew that
You were forgiven.
I was forgiven. Jesus died on the cross for me, all that. But in my heart, I wasn't grasping it.
Yeah.
Well, you weren't forgiving yourself.
That's key.
Right. You didn't give yourself the same grace.
No, not at all. So, so all those years raising my kids, you know, I mean, they got the worst of me, I think, as much as I tried. And then learning the Enneagram, I'm an Enneagram 1, and my kids are an Enneagram 7, and, well, they just wanted to play all the time.
Well, good for them for being kids.
Right? They just wanted to have fun.
But I was wondering, were you harder on them because you didn't want them to face the world the way you did?
Yes, I was harder on them because of that,
Yeah.
and I also didn't want them to make the same mistakes I made.
So that's a good point you make, because when you say that, are you talking to your girls
One's
about
a girl, one boy.
Oh, both the kids, actually, because it affects both of them in different ways. But were you talking to them about, say, sex? I mean, did you have those open conversations with your kids?
We did.
Okay.
We did the whole focus on the family, pre-marital sex stuff. I don't know what it was. It was a whole series. I took my daughter away for the weekend, and we listened to that, and we talked, and my son did the same. My husband did the same for my son. So we did talk about that. But that was basically the extent of it.
So you didn't talk to them about, if you do have sex, A, B, and C?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
However, growing up, we did talk about the umbrella of protection, and that, you know, if you step outside of God's umbrella of protection, He can't protect you in the rain. You're going to get wet. So all throughout their growing up, we did talk about that. So anyhow, in October, well, actually it was probably about 5 years before that, I went to a Surrendering the Secret Bible study over in Keller with a lady who founded Pregnancy Help for You. And then 2 other women were in it. And we went through this Bible study about 6 to 8 weeks long. You go home 2 hours later, you know, every week. You do your homework, and then you come back. And it was okay. It worked for a little bit. It helped some understanding. But I still didn't have it all in my heart.
You still didn't have that aha moment where you kind of were putting the pieces together.
No. And so then I get this Facebook message from Tia, my friend, and she said, hey, I just went to this retreat in Knoxville. There's one in Dallas. You need to go. And so I looked it up, and I talked to the director at the time and signed up. And so I arrived on a Friday afternoon at 2:00 and left at about 1 on Sunday. And so they really shouldn't call it a retreat.
Because it's not, it doesn't feel like a retreat.
Gut-wrenching.
It is gut-wrenching.
A lot of
tons of
self-discovery.
tears.
Yeah.
But without saying too much, the retreat itself is bathed in worship and prayer. So there's prayer going on 6 weeks prior, all throughout the year prior, specifically for the people that sign up. And, you know, you mentioned men and women. It does affect men.
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely.
We have had men come through the retreat that are completely transformed. My husband and I went to Colorado to serve at a retreat there. It was their inaugural retreat, and our chapter birthed that chapter. And there's a 75-year-old man that I was talking to him, and he was sobbing over the fact that he had aborted 2 kids.
Oh, wow.
You know?
And I don't think we give the attention we need to that situation. We always think women's rights, women's rights, women's rights. We forget that every abortion that a woman makes a choice on, a man may or may not get to make that choice.
Right. And they may not even know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A lot of them probably don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, men are coming to the retreats. Men are realizing that that they're impacted and didn't realize it. And they're sad, honestly. They're grieving too.
They're grieving the loss of a child.
Yeah. Yeah.
Today's episode is sponsored by Hudson Financial Group. At Hudson Financial Group, their goal is to make sure your life is fully covered. Do you truly understand your current insurance coverages? Are you protected for the things you need and not paying for the things you don't? Come by and let them help maximize and understand your coverage. With access to multiple carriers, they'll find the best protection at your best price for you. Whether it's home, auto, farm, and ranch commercial coverages, bonds, life insurance, or financial planning, Hudson Financial Group is your one-stop shop for insurance and retirement needs. Stop by today.
So, so the retreat itself, like I said, bathed in prayer and worship, and then we go through the gospel story, and we explain about how, we're made in the image of Christ, and so is the baby. And I think it was during that particular teaching session where we give them a 12-week-old fetal model. And tell what it is at 12 weeks, fingerprints, the brain, the heartbeat, the voice box is forming, and so on and so forth. And we have them sit there and hold it to their heart. I think it was probably that point or shortly thereafter when we go through about, canceling their debts, that it finally clicked for me. And the rest of the weekend, everyone will tell you, particularly one of my team members, everyone will tell you, I came into that retreat, closed off, not wanting to talk to anybody, didn't want to share anything, didn't want to participate really, even though I signed up for it, to when I left and how I am now, completely different.
Oh, I love that.
And I see it every time. And
you see the change from when someone walks in the door to when they leave.
Yes. 48 hours.
Wow.
Yes. And it's amazing. I mean, it's just, helping them to understand how that decision was made, to abort their child, helping them to understand that they're forgiven,
Because I think that people need to realize when a woman makes this decision, and I would have to think that a lot of women make this decision very thoughtfully, but we know there's a lot that don't, right? It's just whatever. There's no responsibility for their actions. But the women that have made this thought, you're not just talking about consensual sex sometimes. You're talking about women that have been traumatized by someone. It's a different way of, I think, coping and dealing with it, right? So, do you see women from all different walks that have gotten pregnant and aborted coming
Yes.
to this retreat?
Yes.
So, it's not just women that consensually did it, it's women that have been traumatized, that have been,
Sex trafficked.
yes. So, I'm thinking about all
Yeah.
these things when you're saying this because, you know, a lot of people don't understand it's not just a choice. Sometimes that choice it's put on them, it's forced on them. So, you're dealing with that, which I love. I
Yeah.
want to hear you talk about that a little bit more if you don't mind.
And you
Well-
go into that fight or flight thing situation, right?
Yes.
They're just trying to find a way out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just how do I cope with this?
Yes.
So, yes, we see women and men of all walks of life. Women that have used abortion for birth control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which now it's switched to where it's the pill now, right? The after morning pill.
But I don't know if you guys realize this, but Planned Parenthood was started by Margaret Sanger. And Margaret Sanger wanted to have abortion available for the Black community
Yeah.
because she didn't want them to perpetuate, she was very racist.
But instead, we've given a lot of credit for women's health care, and so it's not really the way it started.
Right. And if you check out Planned Parenthood nowadays, I mean, you'll probably find that all they do is abortions at their clinics.
I think it is, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
pretty,
And I think
yes.
that's what's kind of halted things a lot because a lot of the funding that was being given to them, they thought it was for wellness checks,
Right.
birth control, preventive, you know.
And there may
ways.
still be some of that going
Yeah,
on.
I'm sure there
There
are.
may.
in
But
certain
what
communities.
you just said's probably,
And they're all around the Black communities and universities.
of course, yeah.
So, so we have seen women who come in that have been sex trafficked. And we have seen women come in that had their abortions at 14 or 15 and their parents forced them and took them, even though they didn't want to have the abortion. We've seen women come through that used it as birth control. We had a lady a year or two ago, she'd had 10 abortions.
Wow.
I know.
And that's hard to think that we're not doing enough in communities and education-wise to help women not have to feel they need to do that.
Right.
We're not giving them resources in a way that they can afford so that they don't have to go through this.
Right. Yeah, it's sad. It really, to hear the stories of these people. So what we do on Friday night is we break up into smaller groups of women, and then the men go off with the men, and we allow them to share their story in a very safe place. And some of them have never shared their story before.
Wow.
Some women have been abused by their dad since they were 3.
I thought about that too.
Or their uncle or their cousin or their sister, It's absolutely tragic to hear these stories. But the thing is we go through, it doesn't end there. We go through and we share the gospel, and we allow them to go through, after sharing the gospel, a workshop kind of where they cancel their debt. Where
You're talking emotional and spiritual debt.
Yes, where they forgive everyone associated with the abortion. They actually forgive those people, the doctors, the clinic, the boyfriend, the parents, whatever, where they actually forgive themselves.
And when you're saying that, there is something to say about forgiving yourself. There is something to say about
Very
forgiving
much
the
so.
people that have wronged you
And
because it frees you.
And a lot of times the forgiveness, I mean, it's not so much about the other person, it's about letting
You.
go
Yes.
of those emotions
Yeah.
inside
Exactly.
of yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that.
Yes, it's amazing to watch this. And we also spend some time in the afternoon going over strongholds and soul ties. Beyond the abortion, what led you to that decision? What were some of the strongholds or the beliefs that you believed that led you to make that decision? In my case, no one loved me. My dad left. Yeah, my mom loved me, but she had to.
But you needed to understand healthy love from a man,
Yeah.
Yes.
a male figure in your life.
Yes.
And that's what you were missing.
Exactly.
And
Not now.
you just saying that, there's a lot of women, though, a lot of women that didn't grow up that stability of what a father figure should be, and so they search other places. And I think it's really important, and I think it's great that what you guys are doing is you're getting to the root of why did you do this, where a lot of people, it's just a moment in life, and they move on, but they don't realize
They didn't
that
really
they
move on.
suppressed
Right.
it for so long, and then sometimes something can trigger it, whether it's another
Yes.
woman coming up to them and saying, I need to have an abortion, or telling their story. It just triggers something.
Yes, it does. It did for me. Like I don't know, we were having a dinner and coffee with some friends, and I was leaving one day, I saw one of my friends' cars, and it had some sort of, abortion sticker with a sign, a X through it or something. And that was a trigger for me. And I had to call her and tell her my story because
Interesting.
it triggered me. Yet things still triggered me
Sure.
all the way until that October. And so everyone around me, I did share my story with my close friends. I'm like, you're either going to love me or you're going to hate me, and I don't want to invest in you if you're going to walk away, right? So I did tell a lot of people that were my close friends as we became closer friends. People knew my story. My kids didn't. And initially, my husband didn't want them to know. And but it's my story to tell or
Yes.
not to tell.
Yes.
And so I was getting ready to go to the retreat, and we took the kids to dinner, and we sat in a private room, and we had dinner, and I said, you guys are here because I want you to know who your mom is. And so I shared my story with them. And that was utterly amazing. I walked out praising God because both of them just looked at me and said, Mom, we still love you.
I think, and I'm going to tell you, I think from a child's perspective, because I went through something very similar but different as a child, I wish my mom would have told me earlier. Because I had this visual of her being this person, and then whenever she'd get on to me for certain things that I do, that I found out what she had done, I resented her. I resented the fact that she didn't tell me, but for the fact that you were able to step forward and tell your children without your children finding out through a third party, this says a lot about you as a mama, because you're willing to let your children know it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to do these certain things that you're doing in life. What's not okay is to do what I've done.
Yeah.
And not for you to tell your kids, but for the fact that you suppressed it for so long, that you could have been sharing something that would have helped them get through things, right?
Right.
I love that.
I just didn't, for the longest time, they weren't old enough.
Yeah.
So they were in their
of course. There's a certain age.
late teens when
Yeah.
I finally did tell them.
Yeah.
But in this situation, I really felt that it opened the door for them
To feel.
to really say, okay, I did this and I need to heal,
Yeah.
which is living by example.
Yeah.
Like, because if they ever
Yes.
have a challenge, at least they know my mom knows.
Yeah.
And she took the time to heal herself.
Yeah.
And I think that's
That's
amazing.
amazing.
It took me a long time, but it's like I wish I had known about Deeper Still when they first came out in 2015,
Yeah.
Or whenever it was. But
And kudos to your kids, though. It says a lot about how you raise your children.
Yeah.
no.
For your children to,
To
be
be
able
accepting.
to receive that.
Well,
That's a good
I
mama
would
for
credit
me.
I would credit my husband.
Well, I'm going to give both y'all credit. I'm going to give both you credit, because it takes a lot to step forward and tell your children and to be vulnerable.
Yeah, it
Because,
does.
but then it also teaches them such good
Well,
tools to get through in life.
I think it's interesting that we need to point out that Madison is sitting here in
hi,
the room with
Madison.
us. So it's so important and just so incredible that she's here to support you in this
Yeah,
story and to be a
yeah.
part of this journey with you.
And she has. She said I'm Michelle 2.0. And I share that at every retreat now.
Yeah.
I love that.
You know?
Because it's a whole new, you lived it. all those years you had that burden of the unspoken guilt,
Yeah.
and it just weighed on your shoulders, and it was such a weight. And now, since 2021, that burden's been lifted.
Exactly. And I share that with all of, the people that come through the retreat. I share that with other, people that I talk to. One of the ladies at her church wants to do a podcast with her and me also.
Nice.
And to talk about that.
Yeah.
And how it's affected her more so.
Yes.
So we'll probably do that next month. But the biggest thing is abortion is a mental health issue once you've had one.
Yes.
It is. And nobody talks about it. And because nobody talks about it, people don't get healed.
I think because there's so much shame involved with it.
Very much.
And I think that people are afraid they're going to be judged. And then you think about it from your standpoint. You're a godly woman. You're a Christian woman. But what about those women that haven't had that journey with God?
Exactly.
That walk. They don't understand.
They're doing it alone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And man, to have the presence of the Lord with you, to know that if I can forgive you because of what Jesus did for us, but if I can forgive you for that, there's no limits.
Right. And that's one thing that's great about our team here in DFW is that we have post-abortive women and non-post-abortive women serving at our team.
Okay.
Interesting.
So they get to see that these women that are non-post-abortive, they have stories too.
Yeah.
They just don't involve abortion.
Right.
And they've healed from their stories as well. And they love them regardless. We're the hands and feet of Jesus.
I love that these women, probably some for the first time in their life, get to experience what it's like to be in a non-judgmental environment.
Yeah.
It is.
To not have that fear of being judged.
Yes. And that's the one thing that we really strive for. We talk about, hospitality when we go through training our team members. But one of the things about hospitality is just making it feel, as Madison would say, have the vibe of loveliness, right? Yeah. And then we are there simply to be the hands and feet of Jesus, to love on them and care for them and help them walk through this journey. We're so much so that we're, picking up their plates after a meal and taking it to the kitchen.
Service.
Service, exactly. Walking them down to their cabins and helping them get unpacked or whatever. And just all the different things that we do at a retreat. They really feel loved.
I love that.
They say that.
I love this. I
know.
love it.
It's
I'm just
really
like,
an amazing
my heart
program.
is happy because I just feel like we have no idea the journey women have walked, whatever their story is. And they need a safe place to go to where they can share and honestly realize that the woman next to them has had those same feelings, those same doubts.
From all walks of
same
life.
hurt.
We're talking
Yes.
about this. We're people are from all walks of life, and
Younger,
they're coming
older,
together.
generations.
Generations,
Yeah.
different, ethnicities, and
Exactly.
all different things. It's just amazing, and different religions even.
love
And I'm
that.
sure that it's just being able to combine all those things and show people that we can be compassionate even when we come from different walks of life.
Right. We had, I also served at a retreat in Glen Rose, brand new chapter, another one that we birthed. And there's a 22-year-old girl there. And she did not know Lord. But the lady that encouraged her to come did. And so she came, and she used the pill. It's
Which is
tragic.
It's used a lot.
So she held her baby for an hour.
Okay,
All
so
by
how far along
herself?
was she?
I don't know.
But
I don't know.
Was she alone in this process?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of, when you're using that pill, you're going home and you may be doing this all by yourself.
In your bathroom. And I've heard stories where people have to leave. They have to move away from that place.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And we're not letting people know the impact that it has on women. We're just saying, oh, well, we're done with that and walking
Right.
away. But
We're
you don't
not.
understand the lasting impact of that.
So there was another lady in Colorado that shared her story. I did get to hear the details of it. and again, used the pill. And she's like, now whenever I flush the toilet,
That's
I'm
what you see.
reminded.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And how often do we have to do that? Every day.
Every day, multiple times a day.
Yes. So it is tragic. And then I was on a conference call with other chapter leaders in the States. We have about 34 chapters right now.
Wow.
And growing. But there was the lady that founded Deeper Still read us an article about how the pill it's the title, I think, was Abortion in Our Waterways. And so, when someone does take the pill, it's excreted through their urine. So it's in the water. And then they're flushing, the remains of their baby down the toilet. And that becomes in our water.
Yeah, they tell you not to flush any pills down the toilet.
Right.
Because it can get in the
Yes.
I never thought about that, actually. Now you say it.
I know.
Wow.
And the impact of being there alone
Yeah.
in your bathroom, I can't even begin to fathom what they must be going through. Like I said,
You got to go to sleep, and
I
it just
got to go to
happened.
sleep. And, but I did live with that for so long. So, but Deeper Still, we offer hope and redemption and forgiveness, through the Lord Jesus Christ. And we allow them an opportunity to grieve. And we are providing them with tangibles all throughout the day that they get to take home. And some people say that the grieving process was the best for them. Because as an individual, you don't grieve the loss of your child through abortion. We definitely don't do it in a society.
No.
And so we offer that. Like I said, we offer the whole stronghold and soul ties counseling.
I love that too, because people don't understand the impact of a stronghold in your life.
Yeah.
They have
exactly.
no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, strongholds can be even.
It can be eating sugar.
Yes, it could be food.
It could be. No,
It
you
could
know what I'm saying?
definitely
It can
be
be.
food.
It can
And
be.
very often it is.
But we don't think about it. We want to
No.
think about the most extreme stronghold and go, it's got a hold of my life. I'm like, it's the little strongholds that get you.
They
and
creep
build
up
to
on
big
you.
strongholds.
They creep up on you.
Yeah, and the soul ties. I mean, God didn't plan for you to have sex outside of marriage. So you've got a soul tie if you had sex outside of marriage. Even with your husband, if you had sex before marriage.
Yeah.
There are soul ties that need to be broken. And there are vows and oaths we make all the time as a society with sororities and fraternities, or with my grandfather was a Mason. And
That's interesting.
yeah. So even stuff like that, you
Yeah.
know, and military.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? She's sitting there saying, I'm like, man, she's right. There's,
Yeah. All these different ties. Yes.
I mean, I never even thought about it that way until you just said it.
Yeah.
But
It's huge.
just discovering those things, having the opportunity to discover those things,
Yeah.
to really learn about yourself. And, we don't know why or how women get in this situation, right? And to me, that's not the important part. The important part is caring for them and letting them know you're loved. And I think that's so important, that we're not focused solely on how did you get here? What happened?
Right.
It's more about what are we going to do now? You're worth healing.
Yeah. How are we going to restore you back
Yeah.
to where you need to be?
Yeah.
I think about a lot of times whenever we're going through this journey, or people going through this journey, you're sitting here talking about this. How often these women, when they come to this retreat, are they having to go back to that support's not there anymore for them because they went to out of state or something? Talk to me
Those
about
strongholds that they're going back
Yeah.
to.
We actually did have one young lady, I want to say it was in our April retreat. She lived with an abusive dad and was afraid to leave because her younger sister was still there,
I've heard that so many times.
you know, and she needed to get away, and she need the whole shame honor system thing was going on there too. She needed to get away, but she couldn't leave her sister. And so fortunately, we still stay in contact with these people, these men and women, even after we have the retreat, and just guide and direct them. We give them aftercare instructions, make recommendations on counselors, or there's actually men after abortion groups out there for men.
And I love hearing that too.
I
because
do.
That's important.
I do. We don't need to play the sexes against each other.
No.
We need to talk about, loving and empathizing and connecting. Because I feel like our communities get better, our relationships get better when there's a healthy respect between the two sexes.
Well, and that's exactly what happened to me. I came home that night from my retreat and sat on the bed and pulled everything out and showed my husband. I said, and this is what we did next, and this is what we did, and this is how it made me feel, and I did all that.
And you allowed him to be in that journey with you.
Yeah. And so now he is. He's on our board of directors, and he serves as a male non-post-abortive team member.
Love that.
And he serves the men and the women that come through the retreats.
And you're able to show them, hey,
Yes.
these are two opposite
Yes.
spectrums here. And people can relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then my kids, I think once they got past the teenage years, and my son's going to be 25 in October, so maybe he'll have a frontal lobe.
Yeah, I was going to say those frontal lobes
frontal
are fully
lobe.
But I honestly think, it's helped my relationship with them as well.
I want to take the time to do something we don't normally do, but we're going to switch out mom and daughter for a
Okay.
second. And we're just going to get our viewers to hear a little bit about, what Madison's perspective is. And we'll
Okay.
bring you back in.
Okay.
All right. So viewers, we are back, and Madison is now in our hot chair over there. And we just really want to hear your perspective of Mom 1.0 versus 2.0.
Totally, yes. I think growing up, I was raised in a Christian household, and so I definitely got to see and feel the love of a parent from both of my parents. However, walking through, I think, middle school and high school, that was probably more of the time where I was realizing there were some harder moments in the household, especially with Mom, and my dad was gone quite a lot, just flying. I think my mom and I were two people that were both very headstrong, and so we were always going up against each other. And I'm the oldest, my brother's younger, and so he was just off in his own world. So there was just so many times where we would butt heads. I would just feel a lot of anger in the household, which would, rile up anger in me.
And so you were we talked about those really high expectations because she wanted to keep you guys safe from experiencing her world. And so she had those really high expectations on you, and you were feeling it.
Feeling it totally, as small and little to, just so many little household chores to larger picture things. And I think, not to just speak highly of myself, but I think I was a good kid ultimately. But yeah, in the household, it was more where I felt that strict parental just kind of guidance. And so after kind of learning, especially after learning my mom's and my dad's previous marriages, and just kind of walking through and seeing my mom's journey, especially late high school, I kind of figured abortion was a part of her story. She hadn't told me at the time yet.
What made you think that? What clued you in?
I think just the combination of, walking through and seeing what can happen when a father leaves a household, combined with hearing that she, in high school or in college was, always with a boyfriend or always trying to just find love in the wrong areas. And then knowing she was married twice before, I just had a feeling that it was a part of her story. And so when it got to the point of that October that she speaks about, where she went to the retreat and told us.
Do you remember that dinner?
I do. It was actually, I believe, after an intervention that we had with her.
Tell us about that. What made you think she needed intervention, and what did that look like?
That was hard. I think I was freshly graduated from college. I graduated in May of 2021, and so lived at home, moved back in to save money, working full time, live with the parents. And that was from my point of view, like the peak of, she's talked about it, just her journey with depression. And
what kind of symptoms were you seeing? What was happening with her?
That's a great question. My immediate thought is just like, okay, the simple depression symptoms, but there was just a lot of self-talk, like negative self-talk, self-esteem. There was a lot of just quick triggers to anger, or a quick trigger to, like she had mentioned, I'm the worst mom, or I'm the worst wife.
Extreme thinking, overreactions. These are things people don't understand are part of depression.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Right. And I knew, like, there was a lot of hurt with her dad. And so a lot of it, some things made sense.
Right.
And there's so much trauma from that. And there's trauma from previous marriages.
Yeah.
Do you think she ever, like, even was maybe a little jealous of the good relationship you had with your dad and she didn't have that experience?
That's a huge question.
That just made me think. I'm like,
yeah, I know. Well, I mean, I know I've seen just the relationship fathers and daughters have a lot of times can at the beginning take over and be a trigger for the wife. I'm not sure. I don't know if I felt that in the time. Yeah. Looking back, it might have played a role, but I'm not confident enough to say yes. Yeah. Even though my dad and I have always had a great relationship, but it just got to a point where the family knew that just something needed to happen, and it involved, direct family and sisters and her mom, and we all kind of just decided that I was the one that needed to have that conversation with her.
Why you? Why
I'm
you?
like, huge responsibility.
I know. I'm like, I want to know exactly, because you talked about this relationship you had with your mom where y'all butted heads.
Right.
Why were you the chosen one?
Yeah, I think because this was 4 years after college, and so my college experience, I grew so much, and I really chose my faith as my own. And so in those 4 years, her and I grew a lot closer too, especially leaving the house. So great for me and her, especially, after high school. So
I think all mamas feel that way, okay?
Yes.
Like, bye-bye,
Yes, it was much needed.
Yeah.
And just perfectly what needed to happen. And so we had grown closer, and I was home and I was working. And so I think that they just saw the impact that I had and just the conversations we'd have and how I could speak to her on a different level.
That you're a strong young individual. Yeah. They probably knew you'd be a good match for that, right?
Right. Well, and you can get angry at your husband, or you can get angry at your sister, but hearing something from a child has a whole different impact.
It's a game changer.
I agree.
And
so, that's a good point.
We just prayed about it. I remember driving to the lake before, like, it was, a summer of praying of what would I think about doing and what it was saying. And I remember driving to the lake for the 4th of July and just having conversations with my aunts and praying about it and talking with friends about it. And then it was, I don't know if I talked to her in September of 21, but I totally remember it to this day. Just speaking to her like, hey, this isn't going to be a decision that you're going to make for yourself, because you haven't done that. So you're going to need to do this for me.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
You're not going to do it for yourself. You haven't. I know the concerns you have. I know you've, been on medication in the past, or have, gone to different places in the past, and I know why you didn't like that. So what I'm asking is you do it for me. And there was a couple different ways I thought it would go, and so I was freaking out the whole time, but by the grace of God, she heard me, and she didn't just hear the words I was saying. She took them in. Wow. And I think it was like 2 weeks later, there was movement going on in that, and processes happening. And then that October, she went to the Deeper Still retreat. And it was quite literally from there, I always say, she's Michelle 2.0. And I've seen it clear to this day.
She came back changed.
But what you're saying, though, I want you to, I love what you said. One, it was a huge responsibility for you to do, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that you did that, I wish more parents knew how life-changing it is when a kid comes up to you and says, hey,
I need you to do this.
Because I know I've had one of those aha moments as a mom when my child came to me. And I remember going, man, if my kid can see this, if she feels this, why am I not doing it for me?
Yeah.
And it was a life-changing moment for me, right?
That's great.
So how would you encourage someone in your situation to do it with their parent if they were in the same shoes?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, at first I would just say, like, sitting with the Lord is the first thing, because
What if they don't have a relationship with the Lord?
Right. Also, great question.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We're trying to trump her here.
I know. Well,
But I
and
know
I was
you can do
blessed
it.
to have that. Yes, I was blessed to have that. I think truly outside of the Lord, just talking with people that I trusted and that knew the situation very closely, really examining my relationship with her was huge, and realizing, okay, why are my aunts and my dad telling me that I should be the one to do it? So, like, really analyzing that. Like I said, it was like a summer of just thinking through what this might look like. And I was blessed to, have this conversation with her. And so I think for someone that would be in this position, that would mean that they're also in a position to have, they have a close relationship.
There has to be a connection.
There's some sort of, bond. And so really analyzing what that looks like, and how has she heard you or him in the past? How have they reacted to things? Do you feel like you can speak clearly with them?
Had you, because I think about this too, you talk about this summer prepping to talk to your mom. Had you emotionally prepared yourself in case your mom didn't receive what you had to say to her?
Yes. So there was kind of 3 ways I thought it was going to go. One was she would just kind of be like, I don't need this, and just brush it off.
Yeah.
And I was, there was a high chance that was going to happen. The other way I thought it was going to go was it would just really trigger her, and she would spiral.
That's what I was
and
thinking.
There's a lot.
Yeah,
There's a lot
I
of,
was thinking that.
That's a lot of stress right there.
Because many people would then be like, oh my gosh, if my daughter is seeing this, then they'd feel worse about themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And I had, to be transparent, I've told her there had been times in the past where I worried for her safety in her life. And so I was terrified that was going to go that way.
Her.
And then,
But the good news is you had that supportive system that was going to be there to back you up.
Yeah.
Right. And then there could have been the other way, which she heard me and she listened and accepted it, and
Became
truly,
2.0.
by the grace of God, that's what happened.
So what does
6 years
2.0
later.
look like? What's different?
Yeah. I want to know.
Yeah, 2.0 or Michelle 2.0, I think is firstly aware, very aware of herself. And I think a lot of that is walking through, okay, we weren't aware of that, and how the abortion was, affecting her, and how it came out and showed, in our childhood, our household. So that was I think number one, was she was so much more aware of her behavior and her heart versus her head, or how that connection was maybe not there, and made steps to fix that. I think also it's a conversation I don't think people talk about too much, but medication was involved, and I think that is something that I am very grateful for. The Lord has blessed people with knowledge and education to create something for people that just sometimes don't have certain chemicals that are firing.
That's
I
what I've
agree.
always said. I've always said that. I love that.
I think that should be taken advantage of in a healthy
way, combined with therapy.
Yep.
Correct. And so that was able to get her to a space to process post even deeper still retreat.
I want to say that a lot of people are scared of medications, but in some situations when you're medically depressed, your brain doesn't fire the same way someone else's does. And so without that medication, a lot of times you can't have the clarity to get the help that you need.
Right.
Or to let that help sink in.
And that was my whole kind of quote unquote argument during kind of my conversation with her, was you're not even in a place currently to walk through healing.
Yeah.
And so that was the first kind of step. And then I think the phase 2 was seeing her relationship with my dad change. I remember the first time that I could remember, I don't know how long it had been, but I saw them kiss.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Clearly in my childhood home. And I remember thinking, I don't remember the last time I saw that happen. And so I saw the switch in their marriage, which just flowed into my brother and I.
Wow.
And still to this day, I texted my dad, even hearing my mom speak before me, of, you don't know how much she loves you. I'm sure you do, but she loves you so much, and it's so evident, and her story's so cool. But yeah, seeing, and just from there, I think her and I's relationship has completely grown. My brother is a little bit younger than me and married and has a child on the way.
Oh, that's
and
wonderful.
so I think he has a whole different perspective just because he's a male, and he got to experience all of the household kind of hardships after me in a different way.
Yeah.
And you were probably a little protective of him too.
Yes,
In a lot of
parenting
ways.
him,
Yes.
if, feeling like even I was parenting my mom sometimes. And so he's definitely seen it differently, but just because of the relationship we have, even daughter mother, that's very different than son and mother. I feel like completely flourished, and I've even thrown out Michelle 3.0 sometimes.
Oh, wow. She's like, I don't even know about that.
Yeah, I'm like, sometimes I can see it, and I just think that truly just looks like just free, like
I
Michelle's
think the
inner
3.0
child.
too, and I may be wrong because I don't even know her, but I think the 3.0 could be the fact that she's helping so many other women
Right.
walk
Helping
through
other
their
women.
journey.
Right, yes.
And becoming
That's so
vulnerable
amazing.
and just allowing them to feel it's okay to
And
not be okay. It's okay to have these feelings.
Totally.
I mean,
And you can have a new walk of life.
yeah,
You don't
I mean,
have
look
to
how-
live
look what
in the
she's
sins of
doing.
the past.
Yes.
You know, and,
Yes.
and for a child, your mama, I mean,
Oh.
you're an adult now, but you're always going to be our kids,
For
right?
sure.
To be proud of that, to
Oh
be
my
proud of,
gosh,
hey, we
yeah.
all make mistakes. And what teaching moments she's teaching you of,
Yeah.
you're going to make mistakes in life.
Love yourself.
For sure.
Love
Yeah.
yourself regardless of your
yourself.
mistakes.
Yes. I think it's definitely
I hope all women hear that.
I do
Love
too.
yourself
I do too.
regardless of your
I do too.
mistakes.
We're going to be
Yes.
hot messes sometimes.
Yeah.
And we don't feel
Totally.
worthy of loving ourselves. But at the end of the day, if we don't feel love for ourselves, it's people like your mom that's going to give that love to those people that don't
Yeah.
feel worthy,
yeah.
like she was given,
Right.
to where she can, you
Yeah.
know, pass it on.
Right.
And you, I mean, it just, I love it.
Yes.
Love the story.
Yes, it's been great. I think it's totally allowed me to just be so much more self-aware
Yeah.
and in tune with my emotions, and just constantly working on myself, so that one day, I can, even with friends or just future children, that's something that because of her and seeing, one, I mean, she raised me, so naturally that was going to happen,
Sure.
but also just seeing this journey and her story will always be a part of my story.
Well, you
And-
saw the impact of how hard she was on herself because she didn't forgive herself.
For sure.
And
then
how
you
hard
see
she
the
was
Michelle-
on you guys. so
Yeah.
that
And you see
you
the
would-
Michelle
yes.
2.0 and now the Michelle 3.0. And there probably is a Michelle
Stay
5.0.
tuned.
We're
Yeah,
sure.
stay tuned.
But
Stay
the
tuned.
teaching moments your mom has given you through her trials, I love.
Yeah.
Well, let's switch you guys back so Michelle can talk about how getting involved with
Yes,
Deeper
let's do
Still.
that.
Let's get that going before we
Okay.
close out. Deeper Still, how do people get involved? Let's do this. Let's open this door.
So I became the executive director of the Dallas-Fort Worth chapter in 2023, and we have a great team. We have a great core team. Some of those team members, though, may be moving on, as they age.
Okay.
We have some older women and men. We'd love to have younger women come in, younger men come in. The way you get involved is, honestly, we only have a retreat twice a year.
Okay.
But we do have prayer Zoom calls throughout the year. We do have training once a year. We do have training coming up in August 15th and
For
16th.
people who want to be involved in the program?
Right.
Okay.
So you have to go through training regardless. And that's a 2-day exercise. And we do charge money for that because we want some skin in the game. But we also provide you meals and snacks, and we also provide you with the manuals, the training manual, and the retreat manual. And then if you're willing to serve, come on over. If you really want to do this and really want to help the men and the women that come through the retreat, see what God has in store for them, then it's great. So here's the deal. So we can only accept the number of women that we have 2 times the team members for.
Oh, wow. So you guys are,
So you're limited because you want to
Wow.
make sure getting the care they
Yeah.
need, they're
Yes.
getting
I
the
love
support
that.
they need.
So if we have 6 women participants coming in, we need to have 12 team members, women
love
team
that.
members.
that is awesome.
The same for the men. So, So really, like for this fall, I already know there's 3-4 people that are out that cannot serve this time around, and they are regular servers, team members. So I have training coming up in August, so hopefully,
You'll gain some.
Well, gain some.
And I hope our listeners
I
hear
do
that.
too.
If
If
you're
you wanna
looking
volunteer.
and, in a way to get involved in something so important and that's really impacting society right now, get involved in this, because you don't have to have gone through the abortion process to
that's what I
be
love
a
about it,
servant
too.
here in
Right.
this situation. So we want to really drive home. Either way, you're going to be
Younger
valuable.
or older,
Yeah.
too. Younger or
You're gonna
older.
be valuable.
And not only that, you don't necessarily have to be a team member. We could have behind the scenes
Help.
volunteers.
Got it.
So picking up people from the airport if they choose to fly
nice.
in.
Nice.
Working on different crafts that we use for the retreat.
Right.
Prayer. Prayer is huge.
It is.
We have a huge prayer list that we send out on how to pray for the retreat at different points in time throughout the weekend. And all we ask really is that you just sign up for one of those sessions and you pray during that session. So you could even just be someone at home praying during 2 p.m. on Saturday, for example.
Love that. Yeah.
I love that.
We do travel around. Like, I love to be able to serve, and since my husband's a pilot, I can fly relatively cheap, and so I travel to places that need help.
And you can serve in other
Yes.
other
So I popped into
districts.
Tampa Bay the week before our retreat,
okay.
and helped pick up the slack there, where suddenly people couldn't, serve.
Michelle, this has been such a great episode, and I wanted to drive home the non-judgment. Like I said, we don't know why or the journey that women have gone through and when they have to make this really hard decision. What I have learned as a practicing mental health professional is I'm going to change my form today.
Nice.
Because I want to, I have it on there about your medical history. It's not specific enough. So I'm going to be
that.
making that change. I encourage other therapists to do the same, because I think that is a huge change that we need to make. So I really want to drive that home, and that, also I, as women are coming into me, again, knowing that you're not going to be judged by anything that you say. This is someone, you're now a resource for me to be sending women for healing. And
Absolutely.
I think it's so important.
And we want to be that resource.
And men, I'm not going to take away from the men who are
Right.
also in this.
But we are a nonprofit, and so you're posting on the show notes our website,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Correct.
So since we are a nonprofit, and everything is free for the participants that come in, they
Lovely.
don't pay anything.
That's amazing.
we-
But you need financial support.
Yes,
So for our listeners to know, if you can't serve, but you really want to take home this project, donate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you,
Yeah, thank
Madison.
you.
Y'all have been amazing, and you're going to change lives. You're going to keep changing
It's
lives.
been amazing to watch. Thank you.
If you or anyone you know is struggling with mental health issues, please reach out to talk to someone you trust. Get connected to a mental health professional who can help you find ways to cope and ultimately feel better. If you are having suicidal or self-harm thoughts or thoughts of hurting another person, please go to the nearest ER, call 911, or contact the National Suicide Hotline at 988. Thank you for tuning in to Mental Perk. We hope our talk today highlighted real people working through real issues based on mental health. Our goal at Mental Perk is to make sure every one of you knows you're worthy. We're in this together.